Commander stood at the viewport, watching the massive research station grow larger as their shuttle approached. Beside him, his wife Lisa pressed her face against the glass, her eyes bright with excitement. In the seat behind them, their 5-year-old daughter Emma bounced up and down, barely contained by her safety harness. "Is that it, Daddy? Is that where we're going to live?" Emma's voice carried through the small cabin. Turned and smiled at his daughter. "That's it, sweetheart. That's Meridian Station, our new home." The station was enormous, a collection of connected modules that spun slowly in orbit around a gray moon. Dozens of ships were docked at various ports, vessels from species across the galaxy. Had studied the station's layout for weeks, memorizing every corridor and system. As the lead human representative, he needed to know everything. Lisa reached over and squeezed his hand, nervous. "A little," admitted. "We're the first human family to live on a mixed-species station. A lot of eyes will be on us." "We'll be fine," Lisa said. She was always the optimistic one. As she had worked with alien species for years, this assignment was a dream come true for her. The shuttle docked with a soft thump, unbuckled Emma and lifted her onto his shoulders. She giggled and grabbed his hair for balance. Together, the family stepped through the airlock and into their new life. The docking bay was quiet. A small group waited for them near the main corridor entrance. Recognized Administrator Al from the briefing materials. He was tall and thin, with 4 arms and a chitinous shell that gleamed under the station lights. His compound eyes reflected multiple images of the approaching humans. "Commander," Al's translator device rendered his clicking speech into clear English. "Welcome to Meridian Station. I am Administrator Al." Set Emma down and extended his hand. Al looked at it for a moment before carefully touching it with one of his smaller arms. The gesture was brief and hesitant. "Thank you for having us," said. "This is my wife, Dr. Lisa, and our daughter, Emma." Al's eyes fixed on Emma, who waved enthusiastically at him. The administrator took a small step backward. "Yes, the child. We have prepared special accommodations for your family." A blue-skinned alien stepped forward. She was shorter and rounder than Al, with smooth amphibious skin and large golden eyes. "I am Chief of Station Security. I will escort you to your quarters." As they walked through the corridors, noticed how the other aliens stopped to stare. Some pressed themselves against the walls to let them pass. A group of workers quickly moved their equipment out of the way, their antennae twitching nervously. "They seem afraid of us," Lisa whispered. "Humans have a reputation," replied quietly. "Apex predators, they've heard the stories." Emma skipped ahead, fascinated by everything around her. She paused at a large window, pressing her hands against the glass to look at the stars. A nearby technician froze, watching her with wide eyes. "Emma, stay close," Lisa called. Their quarters were larger than had expected. The main room had a viewport that showed the moon below and the stars beyond. There were 3 bedrooms, a small kitchen area, and a bathroom modified for human use. Someone had even placed a basket of welcome gifts near the door. "These are beautiful," Lisa said, examining the gifts. There were crystals from various worlds, a data pad loaded with station information, and a small plant in a clear container. Emma immediately claimed the smallest bedroom, declaring it perfect. She began unpacking her toys, spreading them across the floor, and Lisa started organizing their belongings, trying to make the space feel like home. An hour later, there was a chime at the door. Opened it to find standing outside, holding a data pad. "Commander, I need to review security protocols with you," said. Invited her in. They sat at the small table while pulled up various displays on her pad. "We have installed additional sensors in this section of the station," she explained. "They will monitor biological activity and alert us to any unusual behavior." "Unusual behavior?" asked. "Any signs of aggression, elevated stress hormones, or predatory displays," said. She glanced toward Emma's room, where the sound of the girl singing to her toys could be heard. "Human children are unpredictable. We must be cautious." Felt a flash of annoyance but kept his voice calm. "Emma is 5 years old. She's not dangerous." "With respect, Commander, your species evolved on a planet that would kill most of us within hours. Your child may not understand her own strength." His golden eyes were serious. "These measures are for everyone's safety, including hers." Before could respond, Lisa joined them. She had heard the conversation. "I understand your concern," she said, but I think there's been some misunderstanding about human children. Maybe I could give a presentation to your security team, help them understand what to expect. Considered this? That would be acceptable. I will arrange it. After left pulled Lisa close. This is going to be harder than we thought. We knew it wouldn't be easy, Lisa said. We just need to give them time. Once they see that we're not monsters, they'll relax. That evening, the family ate dinner together in their new quarters. Emma chattered about everything she had seen, asking 100 questions about the aliens and the station, and whether she could visit the observation deck. And Lisa answered as best they could, trying to keep things simple and positive. After Emma went to bed, stood at the viewport looking out at the stars. Lisa joined him, sliding her arm around his waist. "Do you think we made the right choice?" asked, bringing her here. "Yes," Lisa said without hesitation. Emma is going to grow up knowing that the galaxy is bigger than just humans. She'll learn to understand other species, to see them as people instead of aliens. That's worth everything. Nodded, she was right. This was about more than just them. It was about building bridges between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. And if that meant dealing with nervous aliens and excessive security measures, so be it. 2 weeks had passed since the family arrived at Meridian Station. The initial tension had eased, though not entirely disappeared. The alien crew still watched the humans with careful curiosity, but at least they no longer fled when Emma walked down the corridors. Had settled into his role as liaison officer, helping coordinate between the human diplomatic corps and the various alien delegations that visited the station. Lisa spent her days in the xenobiology labs, working alongside scientists who were gradually becoming comfortable with her presence. Emma had adapted to station life with the easy flexibility of childhood. She attended her virtual school sessions every morning, sitting at the desk in her room while her teacher back on Earth led her through lessons. In the afternoons, she was free to explore the station's public areas, always with at least one parent nearby. She had made an unlikely friend in the station's AI assistant. The computer had a pleasant voice and answered all of Emma's endless questions with patience. Emma had decided to call it Beep because she liked the sound the terminal made when she pressed the buttons. The AI seemed to accept this name without complaint. On this particular afternoon, Lisa was working late at the lab, was in a meeting with a delegation from discussing trade agreements. Emma sat in her room, working on an art project for school. She was supposed to draw her favorite animal. Emma had chosen to draw a dinosaur, specifically a Rex. She had been fascinated by dinosaurs for months, watching every documentary she could find and reading every book her parents downloaded for her. She loved how big and strong they were, how they roared and stomped around. As she colored in her drawing, Emma decided she needed to practice her dinosaur roar. It was important to get it right. She had been working on her roar for weeks, trying to make it as loud and scary as a real T-Rex. She stood up from her desk and planted her feet wide. She puffed out her chest like she had seen the dinosaurs do in the videos. Then she opened her mouth and let out the loudest roar she could manage. R-A-A-A-W-R. It was a good roar. Emma was proud of it. She roared again, even louder this time. R-A-A-A-W-W-W-W-R. To make it more fun, she grabbed her favorite snacks from the counter where her mom had left them. There was a small bag of chocolate chip cookies and another bag of gummy bears. Emma popped a cookie in her mouth and roared again through the crumbs. R-A-A-W-R, R-A-A-W-R, R-A-A-W-R. She was having so much fun that she didn't notice the lights in her room flickering. She didn't see the small sensor panel near the ceiling flash red. She was too busy being a dinosaur, stomping around her room and roaring at her toys. In the security office 3 levels away, alarms suddenly blared across every console. Jerked upright, her golden eyes widening as she read the displays. The security system was registering a major threat in the human residential sector. "Report," snapped at her assistant, a young named. His hands flew across his console, his antennae twitching in alarm. Multiple sensors detecting aggressive vocalizations, elevated movement patterns, stress pheromones in the air. The system classifies it as a predatory threat display. Location: the human child's quarters. Felt her blood run cold. They had all hoped the humans would be peaceful. She had even started to believe it. But now the sensors were clear. Something dangerous was happening. "Initiate lockdown protocol," ordered. "Seal that entire sector. Alert Administrator Al and Commander immediately mobilized the response team. Across the station, blast doors slammed shut. Warning lights flashed in the corridors. The computer's calm voice announced that a security situation was in progress and all personnel should remain in their current locations. Was in the middle of explaining human trade preferences when the alarm sounded. His data pad buzzed urgently. He glanced at it and his heart stopped. Emergency in residential sector. Human quarters. Code red. He was on his feet and running before anyone could stop him. The delegates called after him but didn't slow down. Emma was in trouble. Nothing else mattered. He reached the sealed blast door that led to his sector and slammed his hand on the access panel. Override? Commander, let me through. Cannot comply, the computer responded. Security lockdown in effect. That's my daughter in there, shouted. His voice came through his comm. Commander, we are approaching your quarters now. Please stay back. The situation may be dangerous. What situation? What's happening? The sensors detected a predatory threat. Your daughter may be in danger. Felt confused and terrified at the same time. What could threaten Emma in their own quarters? The door finally opened and he rushed through, finding a team of security personnel clustered outside his family's door. They were armed with stun rods and containment nets. Stand aside, ordered. They hesitated, looking for guidance. Nodded, open it, but be ready. The door slid open, pushed past the security team and burst into his quarters, ready to face whatever danger threatened his daughter. He stopped. Emma sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, surrounded by cookies and gummy bears. She had crumbs on her face and was making loud roaring sounds at her stuffed animals. When she saw her father, she beamed at him. Daddy, I'm being a T-Rex. Listen to my roar. She took a deep breath and roared again, spraying cookie crumbs everywhere. Behind, the security team slowly lowered their weapons. Stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth opening and closing as she tried to process what she was seeing. Al arrived moments later, breathing hard from running. He looked from the security team to the small human child playing on the floor to the sensor readouts still flashing on his data pad. I don't understand, Al said slowly. The sensors detected a clear threat. Took several deep breaths, trying to calm his racing heart. He looked at his daughter, who had gone back to playing, completely unaware of the chaos she had caused. Then he looked at the dozen armed aliens crowding into his quarters. She was roaring, said. He started to laugh. He couldn't help it. She was pretending to be a dinosaur and roaring at her toys. Roaring, repeated, as in, practicing predatory vocalizations. No, playing, pretending. It's what human children do. The aliens looked at each other, confusion clear in their expressions. Al's translator clicked several times before he spoke. Your child practices aggressive displays for entertainment. It's not aggressive, tried to explain. It's imagination. She's pretending to be something she's not. It's how kids play. Emma wandered over, holding out a cookie. Do you want one? They're really good. Took a step back and realized with sudden clarity just how much work they had ahead of them. These aliens didn't understand human children at all. They saw threat displays where there was only play. They saw danger where there was only joy. I think, said carefully, we need to have a talk about human childhood. The conference room was packed with more aliens than had ever seen in one place. Administrator Al had called an emergency meeting, and it seemed like every department head on the station had shown up. And several other species didn't recognize filled the chairs and lined the walls. Lisa sat beside at the front table. Emma sat between them, coloring quietly on a data pad. She had no idea that she was the reason for this gathering. To her, it was just boring grown-up talk. Al stood at the head of the table, his forearms folded in a gesture that his species used to show serious concern. We are here to discuss the incident from yesterday, he began. Our security systems registered a significant threat, but what we found was the human child engaged in what Commander calls play behavior. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Several aliens leaned closer, staring at Emma with a mix of fascination and worry. I have studied the sensor logs extensively, said, standing to address the group. The readings were not false. The child did produce aggressive vocalizations. Her heart rate was elevated. She was moving in patterns consistent with predatory behavior. The sensors worked exactly as designed. But she wasn't actually being aggressive, said. She was pretending. Pretending, a scientist near the back raised her hand. Could you explain this concept? Lisa stood up, taking control of the meeting with the calm confidence she used in academic settings. Of course, human children engage in what we call imaginative play. They pretend to be things they're not. Animals, fictional characters, even objects. It's a crucial part of their development. She pulled up images on the main display screen, pictures of human children playing, dressed in costumes, acting out stories. Play is how human children learn about the world. They practice different roles and behaviors in a safe environment. Emma was pretending to be a dinosaur, an extinct Earth predator. She was imitating its roar. Why would you allow your offspring to imitate predators? Al asked. This seems to encourage dangerous behavior. It's not dangerous, Lisa explained. It's creative. Human children have very active imaginations. They create entire worlds in their minds and act them out. It helps them develop problem-solving skills, emotional intelligence, and creativity. An engineer named spoke up. But the vocalizations were genuine. The threat display was real, even if the intent was not. How do we distinguish between play and actual aggression? That was the key question. Could see it on every alien face. How could they know when a human child was playing and when there was real danger? Context, Lisa said. You have to understand the context. Emma was alone in her room with her toys and snacks. There was no threat present. Her body language was relaxed. Those are all signs of play. Your young practice aggression while consuming food, another asked, sounding horrified. She wasn't being aggressive, said, struggling to find the right words. She was having fun, being silly. Humans don't view roaring as inherently aggressive. It can be playful. The room fell silent. The aliens looked at each other, clearly trying to wrap their minds around these concepts. For species whose young were born with most survival instincts already in place, the idea of practicing behaviors just for entertainment was completely foreign. Emma, bored with her coloring, tugged on Lisa's sleeve. Mommy, I'm thirsty. Lisa pulled out a juice box from her bag and handed it to Emma. The child took it and immediately made her roaring sound again, much quieter this time, as if the juice box was a dinosaur. Every alien in the room tensed. His hand moved toward her stun rod, quickly raised his hands in a calming gesture. See, she's playing. The juice box is pretending to be a dinosaur now. She's telling herself a story. A young scientist near the front had been watching Emma with intense interest. She slowly raised her hand. My name is, I study child development across species. Could I ask the child a question? Of course, Lisa said. Moved closer, though she kept a respectful distance. Emma, why do you make those loud sounds? Emma looked up at the blue-skinned alien and smiled. Because dinosaurs go, they're really big and strong and cool. I like pretending I'm a T-Rex. And this makes you happy? Asked. Yeah, it's fun. Emma demonstrated again, her small voice echoing through the quiet conference room. Turned to face the other aliens. The child shows no signs of stress or fear. Her behavior is voluntary and self-directed. She appears to gain enjoyment from the activity itself, not from any perceived dominance or territorial display. But what purpose does it serve? Al asked. If there is no survival benefit, why do humans allow it? Lisa smiled. Not everything has to serve a survival purpose. Play is valuable because it brings joy. It helps children be children. Humans believe that childhood should include happiness and imagination, not just preparation for adulthood. This concept seemed to stun the aliens even more than the roaring had. Several of them began talking among themselves in their own languages, caught fragments of the conversations. Words like inefficient and illogical and dangerous kept coming up. But there were other words too. Fascinating, unique, remarkable. Stepped forward, holding his data pad. I believe I can create a specific behavioral profile for the human child. The sensors can learn to distinguish her play patterns from genuine threats. It will take time to calibrate, but it is possible. That would help, said, feeling relieved. We don't want to cause any more false alarms. I would like to request permission to observe Emma's play behavior, said. For research purposes, I believe a paper on cross-species child development would be valuable to the scientific community. If the family agrees, of course. And Lisa looked at each other. This was exactly what they had hoped for, not just tolerance but understanding, not just fear but curiosity. We agree, Lisa said. as long as Emma is comfortable with it. Emma, hearing her name, looked up. Can play with me. The scientist looked surprised. Play with you. Yeah, we could have a tea party, or I could teach you how to roar like a dinosaur. Golden eyes widened. She looked at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. I would be honored, said carefully. Al cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention back to him. It appears we have much to learn about humans. I propose we continue these educational sessions. Doctor, would you be willing to give regular presentations on human behavior and culture? Absolutely, Lisa said. And perhaps, Al continued, we should approach our human guests with less fear and more understanding. They are not the monsters we imagined. They are simply different. As the meeting ended, aliens approached the family in small groups. They asked questions, requested more information, and a few even asked if they could bring Emma small gifts. The mood had shifted from fear to fascination. Approached as they were leaving. Commander, I apologize for the excessive response yesterday. We will adjust our protocols. No apology necessary, said. You were protecting the station. That's your job. We just need to help you understand what to protect against. That evening came to their quarters for the first observation session. Emma was thrilled to have a visitor. She showed all her toys, explained the rules of her favorite games, and yes, taught her how to roar like a dinosaur. And Lisa watched from the kitchen, smiling as Emma's enthusiastic roars echoed through their quarters. This time, when the sensors detected the sound, they simply logged it as normal childhood behavior. Progress thought, slow progress but progress nonetheless. In her security office, reviewed the new sensor profiles. The system was learning to recognize a month had passed since the roaring incident, and life on Meridian Station had found a new rhythm. The alien crew had stopped jumping when Emma ran down the corridors. The sensors no longer sent alerts every time she played in her room. Some of the aliens even smiled when they saw her, or at least made the expressions that counted as smiles for their species. Emma had become something of a station celebrity. Alien crew members would stop by with treats from there, curious to see if human children would eat their food. Emma tried everything, much to Lisa's concern and amusement. She liked the sweet crystals from the and tolerated the protein bars from, though she made faces at the dried seaweed snacks from the delegation. Had become a regular visitor, spending hours observing Emma and taking detailed notes. Her research paper was nearly complete, and she had already received interest from several major journals. Emma seemed to enjoy having an alien friend, even if that friend was mostly there to study her. Was in his office reviewing diplomatic reports when the alert came through. A ship was approaching the station, requesting emergency repairs. The vessel belonged to the collective. Felt his stomach tighten. He knew about everyone did. They were a large, aggressive species that had built an empire through military strength and intimidation. They respected power and had little patience for species they considered weak. Their relations with the rest of the galaxy were tense at best. Administrator Al wants to see you immediately, his assistant informed him through the comm. Found Al in the command center, staring at the incoming ship on the main display. The vessel was massive, bristling with weapons and armor plating. Even damaged, it looked dangerous. They claim they need repairs to their main drive, Al said. His forearms were folded tight against his body, a sign of stress. We cannot refuse aid to a ship in distress. It is galactic law, but they are not known for their courtesy. How many crew? Asked. 15. Their captain is named. He has a reputation for aggressive negotiations. I'll handle the initial contact, offered. Humans have dealt with the before. Sometimes they respect us, sometimes they don't, but at least they won't ignore us. The ship docked 2 hours later, waited at the airlock with a security team. When the door opened, he understood why the other species feared these aliens. Was huge. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with gray-scaled skin and yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the station lights. His crew was equally impressive, all of them heavily muscled and armed despite supposedly being on a diplomatic mission. They moved with the confidence of apex predators who had never met anything they couldn't intimidate or defeat. I am Captain, the leader announced, his voice deep and rough. Your station will repair my ship. We require food, water, and quarters while the work is completed. Welcome to Meridian Station, said, keeping his voice calm and professional. I'm Commander, Human Liaison Officer. We'll provide everything you need. If you'll follow me, I can show you to the guest quarters. His yellow eyes focused on, seeming to assess him. Human, I have heard of your kind. You think you are strong. We survive, said simply. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. We shall see. The next few days were tense. The crew moved through the station like they owned it, pushing past other aliens and demanding immediate service wherever they went. Was particularly difficult, making unreasonable demands and treating the station staff with open contempt. Al tried to remain diplomatic but could see the strain on the administrator. They had no experience dealing with such aggressive behavior. His species valued cooperation and harmony. The valued neither. Attempted to mediate several times, but seemed to view humans as beneath his notice. Despite their reputation as was still just one man facing a crew of warriors, knew the power balance and exploited it. On the third day, Emma was walking back from quarters where they had been having a play session. She was happy, humming to herself and carrying a small toy that had given her. The corridors were mostly empty, as it was late in the evening. She turned a corner and nearly walked into something that looked like a wall. Emma looked up and saw the biggest alien she had ever encountered. Stood in the middle of the corridor, blocking the entire path. Emma stopped, tilting her head to look up at him. Excuse me, please, I need to get past. Looked down at the small human child. His eyes narrowed. He had heard about the human family on the station, though he had not bothered to seek them out. Now here was one of their young, alone, and unprotected. He took a step forward, deliberately moving into her path again. His species tested others through dominance displays. It was instinct. If this human child backed down, showed fear, it would confirm what believed about this station and everyone on it. They were weak. Emma frowned. She had been taught to be polite to the aliens on the station, but she had also been taught not to let people push her around. Her father's words echoed in her mind. Stand up for yourself. Be brave. She planted her feet the way she did when she was playing dinosaur. She puffed out her chest. And then, looking directly into his yellow eyes, Emma took a deep breath and roared. R-A-A-A-A-W-R. It was her best roar yet. All those weeks of practice, all those afternoons pretending to be a T-Rex, came together in one perfect moment. The sound echoed off the metal walls, seeming to fill the entire corridor. Jerked backward, for a moment genuine surprise crossed his face. This tiny creature, barely reaching his knee, had challenged him directly. No fear, no hesitation, just pure, fearless defiance. In culture, the young of predator species were the most dangerous. They had not yet learned caution or restraint. A juvenile that showed no fear was a juvenile from a species that had never needed to develop fear. That meant apex predators. That meant danger. Looked at this small human with new eyes. She stood her ground, glaring up at him with an expression that reminded him of young warriors. The universe suddenly made more sense. If even the children of this species were this bold, what were the adults capable of? You have courage, small one, said slowly. He stepped aside, clearing the path. Emma's expression changed from fierce to friendly in an instant. Thank you. She walked past him, still humming her tune. Watched her disappear around the corner. Then he turned and walked directly to the command center, where he found Al and reviewing repair schedules. Your child is formidable, said to without preamble. His blood ran cold. My daughter, what happened? Is she hurt? She challenged me in the corridor, said. She showed no fear. This is the mark of a dangerous species. I have misjudged humans. She challenged you, repeated, trying to understand. She roared at me, a predator display. Your offspring practice such things from a young age because they come from a world where showing weakness means death. His tone had changed. There was respect in it now. I apologize for my earlier behavior, Administrator. A station that can house human predator cubs while maintaining order is clearly stronger than I assumed. Al looked between and his antennae twitching in confusion. The child was playing. She pretends to be an Earth predator for entertainment. Playing, repeated. He seemed to consider this. Your young practice predator behaviors as play because such behaviors are so natural to your species that they are entertainment. He nodded slowly. Yes, this confirms it. Humans are truly apex predators. Opened his mouth to explain, then closed it again. Sometimes, he realized, the truth was M-word spread through Meridian Station faster than had thought possible. Within hours, everyone knew that the human child had roared at Captain and lived to tell the tale. More importantly, everyone knew that had stepped aside and shown respect. Found Emma in her room, playing with her toys as if nothing unusual had happened. He sat down on the floor beside her, trying to figure out how to handle this conversation. "Emma, I heard you met Captain in the corridor today." Emma looked up from her dolls. "Yeah, he was in my way, so I asked him to move, but he didn't listen, so I roared at him like a dinosaur, then he moved. You know he's very big, right? And very strong." "Uh-huh," Emma said. She didn't seem concerned at all. "But you told me to stand up for myself and to be brave." Felt his heart squeeze. She was right. He had said those things. He had taught her to be confident and assertive. He just hadn't expected her to apply those lessons to intimidating alien warriors. "You're right," said slowly. "You were very brave, but next time maybe get an adult first. Some of the aliens on the station are dangerous." "Okay, Daddy," Emma said and went back to playing. Lisa appeared in the doorway. She had heard the story from at least 3 different sources, each more exaggerated than the last. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. She doesn't understand what she did." "Maybe that's for the best," Lisa said. She sat down with them, pulling Emma into her lap. "I think our daughter just solved a diplomatic crisis by being herself." Over the next few days, the change in the crew's behavior was remarkable. They stopped pushing past other aliens in the corridors, actually apologized to Al for his earlier rudeness. When one of his crew members made a demanding comment to a technician, immediately corrected him. Met within one of the station's conference rooms. The captain seemed almost friendly now, or at least as friendly as a warrior species could be. "I want to understand," said. "What exactly changed your mind about us?" Leaned back in his chair, which creaked under his weight. "My species values strength above all else. We test others through confrontation. It is how we determine who deserves respect and who deserves conquest." "And Emma challenged you." "More than that," said. "She showed no fear. Fear is learned behavior. Young creatures learn fear when they face things that can hurt them. Your daughter has no fear of beings larger and stronger than herself. This means she comes from a species that rarely encounters things they should fear." Started to explain about imaginative play and childhood development, but raised a hand. "I understand what you will say, that she was pretending, that human young engage in play behavior, but consider this, Commander. She chose to pretend to be a predator, not prey, not something harmless, a predator. And when confronted with a real threat, she responded with a predator display. This is instinct. This is what her species has taught her is natural behavior." Had never thought about it that way, but had a point. Human children did often pretend to be monsters and dinosaurs and fierce animals. Maybe it said something about humanity that even their play involved being strong and dangerous. "Your daughter also teaches another lesson," continued. "She roared at me and then immediately became friendly. No lingering aggression, no dominance behavior. She made her point and moved on. This shows that humans can be dangerous but choose not to be. That is true strength. So you respect us because a 5-year-old wasn't afraid of you." "I respect you because your entire species must be formidable if even your smallest members react to threats without fear. In culture, we say that you can judge a species by its young. Your young are bold, curious, and unafraid. This means your adults must be truly powerful." Didn't entirely agree with his logic, but he wasn't going to argue. The result was positive, and that was what mattered. Al called another station meeting a few days later. This time, the mood was completely different. The aliens gathered not out of fear, but out of curiosity and respect. "The presence of the family has taught us many lessons," Al began. "We learned that what appears threatening may simply be different. We learned that strength and gentleness can exist in the same species. And we learned that sometimes the smallest among us can teach the greatest lessons." There was a murmur of agreement from the assembled aliens. Stood up to present her completed research. "I have finished my paper on human child development. It has been accepted by 3 major journals and is already being cited by researchers across the galaxy. The most important finding is this: humans are complex. They cannot be reduced to simple categories like dangerous or safe, aggressive or peaceful. They are all of these things at once. My security protocols have been completely revised," added. "We now understand that human behavior exists on a spectrum. Emma's roaring was play, but it came from the same instincts that make adult humans formidable warriors. Understanding the context is everything." The engineer displayed his updated sensor systems. I have created adaptive profiles for human behavior. The system now learns individual patterns rather than relying on blanket threat assessments. This technology may prove useful for other species as well. Listen to all of this with a mix of pride and amusement. His daughter had somehow become the foundation for a new field of cross-species psychology and improved security systems, all because she liked to roar at her toys. The ship completed its repairs a week later, sought out before departing. Commander, I wish to propose a formal alliance between the collective and humanity. I will speak to my government on your behalf. Any species that raises children with such courage deserves to be our allies, not our enemies. Was stunned. He had hoped to improve relations, but this went far beyond his expectations. I'll forward your proposal to Earth immediately. I'm sure they'll be interested in opening formal negotiations. Paused at the airlock, looking back at the station. Tell your daughter she has the respect of the. If she ever visits she will be welcomed as an honored guest. After the departed, life on Meridian Station settled into a new normal. But it was a different normal than before. The aliens no longer watched the family with fear. Instead, there was curiosity, admiration, and even affection. Emma had gained quite a following among the station's crew. Aliens would bring her small gifts, ask her questions, and request to observe her play sessions with. She took it all in stride, happy to have so many new friends. One evening, and Lisa stood at their viewport, watching the stars while Emma slept peacefully in her room. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Lisa asked. Never, admitted. I thought we'd spend months, maybe years, trying to prove that humans could be trusted. Instead, Emma did it in one afternoon by being a 5-year-old with good roaring skills. She's going to grow up thinking that standing up to 7-foot-tall alien warriors is normal behavior. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, said. The galaxy needs people who aren't afraid to stand their ground, even if they're doing it because they think they're dinosaurs. Lisa laughed. When we write our reports to Earth, how do we explain that our daughter solved a diplomatic crisis by pretending to be a T-Rex? Very carefully, said. In the station's common area the next day, Emma sat surrounded by a small group of alien children and young crew members, had convinced several families to bring their offspring for a cultural exchange session. Emma was teaching them all how to roar. You have to stand like this, Emma demonstrated, planting her feet wide, and puff out your chest, then you go RAAAWR. A young tried, producing a chittering sound. A juvenile managed something like a croak, but they were all trying, all engaged in this strange human play behavior. The sensors detected the various roars and properly logged them as play activity. The security team reviewed the logs and smiled, or made the expressions their species used for smiling. Added a note to the daily report, cultural exchange progressing well. No threats detected. Al watched from the observation window above the common area. Joined him, both of them looking down at the scene below. Your daughter is remarkable, Al said. She has changed this station in ways I never anticipated. She's just being a kid, said. The galaxy is the thing that changed. You all learned to see humans differently. Perhaps we both changed, Al suggested. You showed us that humans are more than warriors. We showed you that the galaxy is ready to accept humanity as equals. Your daughter was simply the bridge between those two truths. Thought about that as he watched Emma lead her unlikely group of alien friends in another round of roaring practice. She looked so happy, so completely at ease among beings from dozens of different worlds. This was the future he wanted for humanity. Not isolation or dominance, but connection and understanding. Administrator said, I'd like to request that our assignment here be made permanent, if you'll have us. Al's antennae twitched in what had learned was a sign of pleasure. Commander, nothing would make me happier. Meridian Station has become a better place with your family here. Below them, Emma's roar echoed through the common area once more, followed by the enthusiastic attempts of her alien friends. The sound represented everything hoped the future would hold. Different voices, different species, all learning from each other. All because a little girl loved dinosaurs and wasn't afraid to roar. Or complicated than the perception, and right now that perception was working in their favor. My crew and I will cause no more trouble, continued. We will be respectful guests. Any species whose children roar at warriors without fear has earned that respect. After left, Al turned to, did Emma really roar at him? Apparently, said, he felt torn between pride in his daughter's courage and horror at what could have happened. I need to talk to her about confronting 7-foot-tall aliens in corridors. But as he walked back to his quarters, couldn't help but smile. His 5-year-old daughter had accomplished what weeks of diplomacy could not. She had earned this respect. All because she loved pretending to be a dinosaur. A's patterns, play roars versus real threats, joy versus danger. It was complex, but the galaxy had always been complex. Perhaps humans would fit in after all. In the security office, reviewed the sensor data from the human quarters. Everything appeared normal. The child's biological readings showed elevated energy levels, but nothing threatening. The parents were calm and settled. Still increased the monitoring frequency. Humans were unpredictable, better to be overprepared than caught off guard. The station hummed quietly around them, unaware that the presence of one small human girl would soon change everything.